Hello. I'm filming this in September. I just realised that this is a time of year where people are starting to go off and do new things, and possibly starting their careers as costume makers. So, if you're off to university, if you got a place on a university course to study costume, costume interpretation, costume making, costume and design, congratulations! Fabulous news. Well done. You're going to have an amazing time for the next 2, 3, 4 years, however long the course runs for, and you're going to learn so much. But I think the thing that you do need to do is make sure that you're prepared for it. And this is to designers as well. Now, this is not just costume makers. My belief is that to be able to be a good designer, you need to know how to make, and to be a good maker, you need to know how to design. So don't go, I'm going to be a designer, don't need to know how to sew anything. Yes, you do. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're not very good at it. But if you understand the basics, then it will help you. Okay. Um, so this little video that I've put together is just giving you kind of the idea of what you might need to take with you. When you're going to university, everyone's going, oh, you need to buy a saucepan, you need to buy some plates, mugs, buy some washing powder, all those, oh, sheets, pillows, all those things, which are lovely to buy. Towels, don't forget towels, toilet roll, loads of toilet roll. So that's quite simple. That's straightforward. You can go to your high street, buy all those things, and then you go armed with all of that stuff. What you don't really talk about is what you need to do your course. There is a good chance that your university has sent you a list of things that you need to buy, or need to bring with you, but it'll be just a basic list, and it might have suggested suppliers on there. But I mean, I've been teaching on and off for the last 10 years at a university, and we kind of forget that you don't know what we're talking about before we talk to you properly. So to go and to tell you need to go and buy fabric scissors, unless you've seen fabric scissors, you don't really know what you're supposed to buy. So this video basically is to give you the kind of idea of what you might need to take with you. An extensive list, it doesn't mean it's not covering everything. It is aimed at somebody starting from scratch. So I think probably for about 50 quid, 50 pounds, you could buy everything that you need roughly. And then over the years, you'll just keep adding to it. This film will show you what I think you need to take with you. And don't think of it as just while you're at university. This is stuff that you're going to need for your career going forward. You would just keep using it. Okay. And likewise, if you're not going to university, but you've decided this is it, this is what I want to learn how to do, this video will help you as well. Okay, so I just want to say good luck and enjoy the video. And if you do enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye. Okay, to begin with, as a budding costume maker, you need to know how to pattern draft, or you will learn how to pattern draft. So these are the tools that you'll need to be successful in that part of your learning. So I always use this piece of equipment, which is called a Pattern Master. They are available in metric and in imperial, so centimetres and inches. I find it really useful because you've got a straight edge. It's a ruler at the end of the day. You've got a straight edge, you've got a curve which you can use for your armhole, you've got a curve in here. There are lines here for adding on seam allowance. You've got diagonal lines to do cut angles or draft angles. I've already done a video on it. You can find it on my channel, or I'll put a link in below as well. If you can buy them from Amazon, you can buy them from, I bought this from a company called Moreplan in the UK. This is quite a sturdy one. They cost between about £12–15 to about £25 or £30. I don't know how much this cost me because I've had it quite a few years now, but it's quite a sturdy piece of equipment. However, since I've bought this and more recent years, other things have become available. And not long ago I bought this set from Amazon, and it's a 7-piece set, and it comes with all these different rulers, which are really useful to use. So you've got this one, which I would call like a hip curve, so that you can draw a lovely long line like that. If you think about the shape of it, you've got your waist here, and this is the side seam of your trousers or skirt, really useful to have. And that's got centimetres and inches on it by the looks of things. You've also got a shaping here, that's quite a good shape for the bottom of the pocket. This is a really useful one. It's called a versatile cutting out ruler, and this is very similar. If you look at the shape of it, it's very similar to the Pattern Master. And you've got angles here, you've got system of centimetres going across, so you can see, you can add seam allowance and mark off various lines. You've got an inner curve, you've got all these circles so you can mark button shapes. It's got most things that you need on there, really useful. And then you've got a curve here, which again, armhole shapes, you've got small shapes. Then they've all got measurements on them, so you know which size you're doing. Every edge has got a measurement on, really useful, really handy to have these curves. There's another one which has got quite a fancy curve here. You've got a half circle with all your grades of degrees of circle. Circles here for buttons again. It's just really handy to have, you know, it's really good. And then you've got a basic ruler, which again, you know, just that alone is useful to have, okay. And that is 55 centimetres long, so nice and long to do down a side seam or something. And then this piece, which is like a teardrop shape, really useful for armholes. You've got a front sleeve, rear sleeve. It's allowing for seam allowance. You've got these, which are really handy. You've got button positioning, button size, shapes for neckline, shapes for armholes, pocket bag corners, you know, curves. Really useful. So, and then the 7th thing, so you've got 6 rulers, and then the 7th thing is a tracing wheel, which you use to mark your paper patterns, but you can also use to mark fabric with carbon paper. I'm not going to do it on my table here because you really don't want to damage your table. They're quite sharp teeth on there. Put a cutting mat or something underneath, or a piece of cardboard would be fine. You can buy these individually where they aren't serrated, so they're just a blunt edge, and that can mark through fabric and paper. However, this, as I said, came as a set, and it was under £15. I think it was £12.99 or something like that. I'll put a link in the box below, but I think that was a really useful thing to have. And you know, don't think about, if you're about to go to university to study costume making or fashion, don't think about this is only a 3-year course. This is the rest of your life. Potentially you will be using these forever. This Pattern Master I got when I went to college, and that's 25 years ago. I still use it today. So you know, it's actually, it's more than 25 years ago, but I'm going to say 25 years ago, but it is still the useful thing to have. So don't think, oh, it's a lot of money. It's not, you know, they all add up. And I completely understand that, but it's just useful things to have. So all the time I've been talking, I've been holding this in my hand. So these are the pencils that I like to use. They are HB pencils, and they are mechanical pencils, which means that it is just a piece of lead that you twist, and it allows the lead to come through. When you're pattern drafting, you should use a mechanical pencil, not a standard pencil. When you use a standard pencil, it gets blunt the more you use it, which means your line gets wider. By using a mechanical pencil, your line is always going to be the same width no matter what. So when you draw there, you can do a light line like I did earlier, or you can do quite a heavy line like that, and it's still going to stay continuous width all the way along. Okay, it's really important that you don't end up with a big wide fat line, because you're going to add on millimetres or take off millimetres depending where you cut that. These are available, again, think about the long term. These are available in a pack of 12. Buy a pack of 12. You will need them, okay? And they have a rubber on the end, because inevitably you will need to rub out, and especially at the start of your career, you will spend a lot of time rubbing out. So best pencils, I think, on the market, really, okay? So that's your pencils. And then once you've drafted your pattern, oh, one more thing for when you're actually drafting is I just get a roll of masking tape. You can buy it pretty well anywhere, you know, like a discount shop or whatever. When you're doing pattern drafting, you might need to stick 2 bits together and then draw another line. And if you do that with masking tape, first of all, if you need to, you can usually take it off again if you're very careful, if it's not too adhesive. But the other thing is that you can actually draw on masking tape, which you can't necessarily do on sellotape. So it's always useful to have masking tape in your bag, okay? And then once you've done all your drafting, you will need to cut your patterns out, so you will need a pair of paper scissors. If you've been given a list, if you're going to college, if you've been given a list and they've said you need paper scissors, don't go and find your craft scissors that you had when you were a child. By paper scissors, you want a long pair of sharp, not too heavyweight scissors, okay? I bought these from a supermarket. many years ago, and they're still sharp and they're still useful. Okay, I think they were being sold as dressmaking scissors, but they're not heavy enough to be dressmaking scissors. So they are my paper scissors. Okay. You will also need, because you will measure somebody at some point to create your pattern, and you may need to measure bits of your pattern, you will need a tape measure. This is a standard tape measure, which has inches on one side and centimetres and inches on the other side. Any tape which has got both is more useful than just having centimetres, in my opinion. We work in a metric society now, which has got centimetres. However, you will need to know, people in my generation who are naturally, I work in inches. If you say to them 30 centimetres, well, I wouldn't know what 30 centimetres is. If you say 18 centimetres, I'd have to go and check what 18 centimetres was in inches, because it wouldn't mean anything to me. Okay, so it's useful to know both. And somebody might say to you, oh, about 6 inches. If you don't know what that is in centimetres, you've no idea. Okay, so it's good to have a tape measure with both. And you don't have to have 2 tape measures, but I do, because this one is a standard one, and then this one has got a metal end. So if you're measuring people for trousers, you need to do an inside leg measurement. It is preferable to use a metal-ended tape, because it means that you do not need to get your hands too close to any intimate areas. Okay. This one again has got inches and centimetres. The unfortunate thing is that the first 7 centimetres is covered with this metal bar. It's fine for inches, because you can see on that side, which is why I have both tape measures, so that I've got the beginning points of both of them. Okay, so that's your tape measures. So that's all the things that you would need to start off with pattern drafting and fitting, or measuring somebody, not fitting, measuring somebody. If you want to get a bit more advanced, I would buy a metre rule, but it is not essential. Again, this has got inches on one side and centimetres on the other. I also have a metal hip curve, and I also have an L square. This one is in inches only, and it's a tailor's square. If you're not going to do tailoring, and the practice of this is going a bit out of fashion now, so it is not essential to have this, okay? But it is useful to have an L square. So that's if you're going a bit more professional, but otherwise, the things that I've said so far, that's all you need really. And paper. If you're going to college, you don't need to buy any paper, because they will supply it for you, or university. However, if you're setting up on your own at home, then you might want to buy a roll of pattern paper. I'll put a link below, and it's just useful to have. Okay. You'll also need a pair of fabric scissors. These are a pair of 10-inch shears, and you must never cut paper with your fabric scissors, and I would not recommend cutting fabric with your paper scissors. So make sure that you've always got 2 pairs handy for whatever the job is that you need to do. These fabric scissors came in a set with these, which is a pair of snips, which is good for cutting threads, and I think they cost less than £15 for the set, and they're good quality. They're not too heavy, they're not too light. As I said, they're 10-inch long shears. I wouldn't get anything longer unless you're really strong-handed. Can get bigger, but then you lose control, so I wouldn't go anything bigger than that. Okay, and I bought them from Amazon earlier this year, less than £15. Don't go too cheap with them, but also don't go madly expensive to start off with. They will blunt, and you'll need to replace them, so don't get too attached to them. But just be aware that you need to look after them, make sure the points stay sharp. Also, you may find, if you're going off to college and university, that your nan or your granny says, oh, let me give you something, and she gives you her scissors from when she was doing dressmaking many years ago. Say thank you very much, take them, but then still buy a new pair, because chances are that they won't be very sharp, and you won't gain anything from having them sharpened, to be honest. So there's your shears and your snips. You can buy small embroidery scissors as well. Either will be of use to you. Okay, I prefer snips because I feel I have more control over them, but if you want to use small embroidery scissors, that is completely okay as well. You will need pins. These are prim ones, and these have got a ball end to them. They're glass-headed pins. They're nice and long, so they're really useful to have. So I would recommend getting something like this. They are come in a set like that, but also just as useful, are standard headed pins as well. You'll use hundreds of these, thousands in your lifetime as a costume maker. So, you know, don't necessarily buy too cheap, but what I would say is you need to buy long. Make sure your pins are long, okay? So you need a set of pins. You'll need some hand needles. This is a very basic set of hand needles, as you can see, quite a few are missing. To start off with, get a mixed selection because you'll learn which size works for you. As you can see, the ones that are missing in the middle are the longer ones, and they're the ones that work for me best. Okay, so buy just a set of basic hand needles. You'll also need to, once you've cut your pattern, you're putting on your fabric, you'll need some way to mark it. These are tailor's chalks. They're all worn down because I've been using them. Make sure that you've got a nice selection of colours. There's also sometimes yellow ones. And just make sure that you don't put them in make sure you put them in a little box or a bag or something and just protect them because they do break quite easily. And to sharpen them, all you need to use is your scissors, and you can then just sharpen them into a bin. They need to be sharp. I need to sharpen all of these really. So they're my chalks, and on top of that I also have chalk pencils, and again get them in a variety of colours. I've also got red ones, and they're useful for marking points on my fabric. Okay, I wouldn't use them to mark around the edge, but I would use them to mark just certain points like dark points and things like that. And obviously if you're using these, then you need to have a pencil sharpener. There are modern equivalents of these things, such as pens that which disappear when you wash it or iron it. I never use any of those things, not because I don't like them, I've just never used them. If they work for you, great, but I would be concerned, very careful. You have to be very careful when you mark fabric, whether it's with chalk or anything else, that you are not going to permanently mark it. It doesn't matter if it's in the seam allowance, but if you put a dot somewhere which is likely to be seen, you need to make sure it doesn't transfer through to the right side of the fabric. And it needs to be removed. You know, it can be removed with chalk. It will easily be removed. Okay, so that's your marking. And then to start off with, going to university, the last thing I would suggest that you buy are a couple of threads if you haven't got them already. Going back to your nan or gran, if she offers you a bag of threads, take them because you will need so many different threads in your lifetime. And you know, they're always useful. The only thing I wouldn't recommend doing is sometimes in supermarkets they'll sell you a sewing kit or something, and usually they're quite poor quality threads. I use quite good quality threads. These are the ones that I usually like buying. These are Coats Moon ones, or I also use what's the company called? These are Coats Trey Sheshi. This is a red one. Basically, it's a nice strong thread. You don't want anything too thick, but you want it nice and strong. Okay. What you'll find with cheap threads is they break, and they don't go through the sewing machines very well. So you just need to make sure that you buy good quality. And if you buy ones which are this size, like a 500 meter, sorry, that's going to last you. You know, it's a, you know, if you just buy a black and white or a black and off white, they're useful threads to have. You can use them for doing toiles, and you can use them for making things as well. And then you can slowly build up with different colours. Okay, so that would be my recommended things to buy before you go to university, or before you're starting off as a costume maker, designer, or fashion maker, seamstress, whatever you're ending up doing. But I mean, this is aimed really at if you're going to go and start uni. If you turned up at uni with at least some of this stuff, you're going to impress your tutors. You're going to look like you're actually serious about it. If you buy yourself a decent pair of snips or embroidery scissors, buy some pencils. You also need a notepad because you'll get told lots of different information. Buy your curves or a pattern master. Buy some pins and some needles, and all of those things. You know, you can add to it. You can buy a pin cushion. What I would recommend with pins and needles, there's a company in the UK called William G who sell haberdashery, and they do a set, which is a really basic sewing set, which I'll put in the box below, and that will cover things like this. You might get duplicates, but to be honest, I've got about 10 pairs of snips because they blunt, and you can then have a pair that you take to uni with you, and you've got a pair at home as well. You know, it really doesn't matter if you get multiples of any of these things, because they will wear out. You will need to reuse them at some point, okay? Or you'll need to add more. So that is my brief guide to what I think you need to take to uni to start off your costume making career. And the last thing I want to say, or last two things I want to say, is one, good luck, enjoy yourself, be enthusiastic, be interested, and you will have a fabulous time. And the second thing I want to say to you, the final thing I want to say to you is, if you've enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel and click the like button. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.